tonight our topic is going to be RGB basics, basically the start of our Christmas displays, what RGBs are, as well as some of the traditional lights that are used in displays. Both myself and John D will be presenting tonight. What we're going to talk about first off, just the different light types of displays, kind of a basics, AC lights, RGBs, as well as different channels, how to actually correlate what channels actually are. I had a really big struggle when I started in 2016 for my first show, and I really trying to understanding the networking and everything, and I think John has done a fantastic job with his presentation as well. So to start off, traditional Christmas lights, before RGBs, most people were using incandescent lights. As efficiencies came in with LEDs, you'll see the picture to the right. That's what most people typically has started before they moved into RGBs. Both of these are both 110 volt. You plug them both into 110 volt plugs. As well, some of the other things that people also do are obviously blow molds and inflatables, depending on what you like as your display. Blow molds, inflatables, incandescent lights, LEDs, or some type of accompaniment of all those in your displays. So moving to RGBs, RGB means red, green, blue. It's just a correlation of the red, the green, and the blue in this diagram that's in the center here kind of correlates. You can produce over 16 million different colors with an RGB. This is whether it's dumb or smart pixels. And we're going to go into that next. Relating to the RGB types, these are the three of the most common RGBs that are on the market today. 50/50 RGB, it's actually the millimeters, the width of what that is, where the 50/50 comes from. They're surface mounted LEDs. Obviously, they're more of a directionally based LED versus a node, where a node is more of an output based on 360 degrees. Your two most common are 8mm and 5mm RGBs. What most people don't realize, when using your nodes, is that the measurement that most of the Chinese vendors use is actually on the outside of the jacket of the RGB whenever they actually inject your various injections for your IP ratings. So with it being the largest used, whether it's the nodes or also the square nodes as well, and then your 5mm really isn't used as often. They have a really low light intensity, and really they're pretty poor in regards to your color mixing as well. Relating to the next slide, what are RGB strings? Similar to Christmas lights with high light output, they're both available in 5 and 12 volt, which is your most common on the market today. You have different quantities, 50 and 100 count. There are some vendors that do offer 25 count, but predominantly it's 50 and 100 count strings. The really cool thing that I didn't realize in the very beginning when I started in 2016, that you can actually cut them to various lengths, whether it's a 99 pixel cane or 48 pixel or dumb snowflake from James, or some of the other vendors that are out there that offer those. You can actually make them to the different spacing that you may need, and just put a pigtail on the end of it to continue it. RGB lighting is some of the most versatile products that are on the market today. You see whether it's pixel trees, obviously the mega trees, matrices, outlines of a house. For my own display, I use RGBs in everything in my display. I don't have any incandescents, although I think incandescents definitely have its place in every display as well. There's different form factors of RGBs. These are some of the most common that you'll see on the market today. The bullet strings, which most of your mega trees are made out of these two, either your bullets or your squares. Also, a lot of people will use floodlights, typical dumb floodlights. You'll also have your pixel strings, as well as your rectangular nodes that are used. I think a lot of folks are using the rectangular nodes for core pumpkins. I've also seen them in the really big bulbs as well, and different things that people have used. One of the most common type of RGB lights were dumb nodes. The most easiest way to identify dumb nodes and smart pixels, that they only receive power. There's no IC chip actually on the node itself. The wonderful thing about these type of lights is that the entire string is, once you light it in one color, the entire string is that one color. This is kind of represented in the picture that's on the left-hand side. With dumb nodes, you actually use a dumb controller. You do not use a pixel style of controller. Most dumb nodes do have a 4-wire, so you'll have your RGB, as well as your power as well going to it. Most of the time, once again, represented by the dumb controller that you'll see on the right-hand side. Typically, dumb controllers are 4-wire controllers. The next style of RGB lights are your pixels, smart nodes as well, where they both receive power and data. Typically, you'll have a ground, power, and a data, so it's a 3-wire pixel. There are many other form factors that are there. These two pictures actually represent everything in regards to the lighting display. Each light is controlled individually. So you'll see where it's pink or red here, going to a blue, to going to a green in the left-hand picture, as well as various pictures on the strips on the right-hand side. Best way that you can identify your pixel nodes is with the IC chip that's on the front, and then as well as the rear of the unit. And these are only controlled by smart pixel controllers. The one thing I do want to emphasize, because I ruined 3 different strings when I first got started in 2016, because I never knew that data only travels one way. Finally, after many trial and error, I finally was able to see the arrows only pointing in one direction. So that was a lesson learned on my part. Hopefully not many people have to share the exact same lesson as well. There's many different types of IP ratings that you'll see. I'm not necessarily going to talk about whether they are or not tested, in a lot of the Chinese vendors or US vendors that actually sell them. But it's a good guide that's being used. IP ratings vary, widely, whether they're on inside use or outside use. I actually use a style of a silicone tube that said it was an IP68 rated for my my arches, but this is kind of a representation of basically no waterproofing on the left-hand side with no coating. Your silicone tube and your resin are typically IP65 rated. Once again, I'm not saying that that's a specific, that's what the manufacturers typically say. And as far as the far right-hand side, the solid silicone, it's stated that it's an IP68. Once again, I think the really important part of this is that it's more for waterproofing your display. It's a great guide. If it actually says it's waterproof or IP68 rated, is typically a good guide. Your most common are the IP68, 67, 65, and 64 style. And this is the same in regards to your nodes as well. But it's just, you can see it a whole lot better in regards to the strips whenever you're purchasing that. I want to represent, visually, what is the difference between a dumb and a smart string. Channels are the smallest controllable element that's available when in your display. A very strong representation for most people that came from an older protocol using incandescent or LEDs, where they would have a white, a blue, and a red, or even a green string. That one string represented only one channel. So it's represented in the top picture that you'll see, where every single node in an RGB, because it's the red, green, blue, the entire string is going to be one color. It can vary in different lengths, but once again, it is one specific color. That's the dumb RGB, and that dumb RGB only has 3 channels. once again represented by DMX. In regards to smart pixels, you'll notice how in the bottom display, the channel counts increase because it's more of on a node level, not a string level in regards to the channel count. So node 1 is red with channels 1, 2, 3, once again RGB. Node 2 is purple, 4, 5, 6. And this is where you, once again, most mega trees, chases that you'll see, all of those type of displays are with a pixel-based display. And I think it's something that I'd never realized when I first got into the hobby in 2016. I actually kind of bought 50-50 dumb and smart nodes. And now that I've had the display for 2 years, I think that both of them have a place in a display. I like some of the benefits of what pixels offer, but some of the smaller elements and some of the specific designs that can be done with xLights, I think that dumb controllers do a fantastic job, almost better than what pixels can do, once again, on smaller things. But if you're looking at, really great effects of what pixels can offer, that's also a great option as well.
The xLights project exists because of people like you. Help continue the project by making a donation today at xlights.org/donate.